I was 7 when I first heard my mother say it. Your brother has a bright future ahead of him, Vivian. He needs more attention. Those words sliced through me like a razor, leaving invisible scars that would bleed for years to come. Standing in the hallway outside my brother's room, watching as she tenderly tucked the blankets around his sleeping form, I felt the familiar ache of inadequacy settle in my chest. My name is Vivian Morales, and I grew up in the shadow of my brother's brilliance. Looking back now, I can trace the pattern through my childhood like connect the dots. While Marcus got science kits and private tutoring, I received practical clothes and lectures about responsibility. When he won his first chess tournament at 9, my mother framed the certificate and hung it in the living room. When I made honor roll that same year, she merely nodded and said, "That's what's expected of you." By the time I reached high school, I had resigned myself to my place in our family hierarchy. Marcus was the golden child, the one destined for greatness. I was the dependable daughter, the afterthought. Vivian. My mother's voice cut through my thoughts, sharp and impatient. Did you finish your brother's laundry? He needs his soccer uniform for tomorrow's game. I sighed, setting aside my half-finished college application. I'll do it now, Mom. And don't forget to iron his jersey. Last time you left wrinkles, and the coach noticed. As I stood at the ironing board, carefully pressing the polyester fabric of my brother's jersey, I watched my mother through the doorway. She sat at the kitchen table, helping Marcus with his calculus homework, her face animated with pride and attention. "You're so close, Marcus," she encouraged. "Just look at the equation again. I know you'll get it." The tenderness in her voice was like a language I'd never been taught to speak. When I graduated at the top of my class, my mother's response was a distracted, "That's nice, dear." When I received a full scholarship to Columbia University, she frowned and said, "That's so far away. Who will help around the house?" But when Marcus got accepted to Stanford with a partial scholarship, she threw a party, inviting the entire extended family to celebrate her son's achievement. The disparity wasn't lost on me, but what could I do? She was my mother. I loved her, even as her indifference carved hollows inside me. I left for New York with a mixture of relief and guilt. Relief to escape the constant reminders of my second-place status. Guilt for leaving her without the help she had come to expect. New York transformed me. In the bustling anonymity of the city, I discovered versions of myself I never knew existed. I excelled in my pre-med courses. I made friends who valued me for who I was, not how I compared to someone else. I even fell in love with Daniel, a quiet architecture student who looked at me like I was the sun and stars combined. For the first time in my life, I felt seen. Valued. Enough. Until the phone call that dragged me back into orbit around my brother. "Vivian," my mother's voice crackled through the receiver. "Marcus has been accepted to Johns Hopkins Medical School. Full scholarship. Can you believe it? My son, the doctor." I clutched the phone tighter, glancing down at my own acceptance letter from Columbia Medical School. The one I hadn't told her about yet. The one I had earned through countless nights of study and sacrifice. "That's amazing, Mom," I said, swallowing the bitterness that rose in my throat. "Tell him congratulations from me. You'll come home for the celebration, of course. I'm planning a dinner for this weekend. The whole family will be there." I closed my eyes, mentally calculating the assignments I'd have to reschedule, the shifts I'd have to swap at the campus cafe where I worked. "I have exams, Mom." "Vivian." Her voice sharpened. "This is your brother's future we're talking about. Surely your exams can wait." The familiar weight of obligation settled on my shoulders. I'll try, Mom. When I hung up, Daniel watched me from across our small apartment kitchen, his eyes filled with concern. You don't have to go, he said quietly. She's my mother. She's also manipulating you. Again. I shook my head, unwilling to acknowledge the truth in his words. You don't understand. Family is different. Different how? Different in that they get to hurt you without consequences? Different in that you have to keep showing up for people who never show up for you? His words hit too close to home, and I lashed out. Not everyone had your perfect childhood, Daniel. Some of us have complicated relationships with our parents. He flinched as if I'd slapped him. We both knew his childhood had been far from perfect, orphaned at 12, bounced through foster homes until he aged out of the system. I'm sorry, I whispered, shame flooding me. That was unfair. Daniel crossed the room, enfolding me in his arms. I just hate seeing what they do to you, he murmured into my hair. Every time you talk to them, you disappear a little. The Vivian I know, the strong, brilliant, amazing woman I love, gets replaced by this shadow version who thinks she's not enough. I pressed my face against his shoulder, breathing in the familiar scent of his laundry detergent and that indefinable essence that was uniquely him. I'll be okay, I promised. It's just a weekend. But as I packed my bag for the trip home, dread coiled in my stomach like a venomous snake. I never made it to Marcus's celebration dinner. 3 hours into my bus ride, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Is this Vivian Morales? A male voice, professional. Clinical. Yes, this is she. Ms. Morales, I'm calling from Mercy Hospital in Philadelphia. Your mother has been admitted following a serious cardiac episode. She's currently in stable condition, but... The rest of his words blurred into static as panic seized my chest. I'm on my way, I managed to say before hanging up. I called my brother next, fingers trembling as I navigated to his contact. Straight to voicemail. Marcus, it's Viv. Mom's in the hospital in Philly. Some kind of heart problem. Call me as soon as you get this. As the bus lumbered toward the next stop, I gathered my belongings, mind racing through schedules and connections. I called Daniel next, who promised to meet me at the hospital as soon as he could arrange transportation. Have you reached Marcus? He asked. Not yet. He's probably busy with pre-celebration stuff. Daniel was quiet for a moment. You shouldn't have to handle this alone, Viv. I'm used to it, I replied, the words escaping before I could filter them. I tried Marcus 3 more times over the next 2 hours as I navigated trains and taxis to reach the hospital. Each time, straight to voicemail. With each unanswered call, anxiety twisted tighter in my gut. The hospital was a maze of antiseptic corridors and harsh fluorescent lighting. At the ICU nurse's station, a tired-looking woman in blue scrubs directed me to room 418. Family only, she warned. And just for a few minutes. She needs rest. My mother looked small in the hospital bed, tubes snaking from her arms, an oxygen cannula hooked beneath her nose. The rhythmic beeping of the heart monitor provided an incongruous soundtrack to the stillness of the room. Mom? I whispered, approaching the bed. Her eyelids fluttered, then opened. For a moment, confusion clouded her gaze before recognition dawned. Vivian? What are you doing here? Even now, disoriented and ill, her first response was surprise at my presence. The hospital called me, I explained, pulling a chair to her bedside. You had some kind of heart problem. How are you feeling? She waved a hand weakly, the 4 lines swaying with the movement. It's nothing. Just a little scare. Where's Marcus? The question stabbed sharper than it should have. I'm not sure, I admitted. I've been trying to reach him, but his phone goes straight to voicemail. He must be busy with preparations, she murmured, her brow furrowing with concern. He's worked so hard for this opportunity. I hope this doesn't ruin his celebration. I bit back the retort that sprang to my lips. A doctor entered then, clipboard in hand. Dr. Chen, according to his badge. Mrs. Morales, how are we feeling? He asked, checking the monitors. Ready to go home, my mother replied with forced brightness. My son has a celebration dinner tonight. He's been accepted to Johns Hopkins Medical School. Dr. Chen smiled politely. That's wonderful. But I'm afraid you won't be attending any dinners tonight. You've had a significant cardiac event. We need to run more tests, but it appears you may have experienced a mild heart attack. My mother's face paled. That's impossible. I'm perfectly healthy. You have elevated blood pressure, Mrs. Morales, and your ECG shows some concerning patterns. We'll know more after an angiogram tomorrow, but for now, you need to rest. After Dr. Chen left, my mother turned to me, her expression tight with worry. You need to find your brother, she insisted. Tell him what's happened, but make sure he knows not to cancel anything. This is his big moment. I don't want my silly health scare to overshadow that. I stared at her, incredulous. Mom, you've had a heart attack. Marcus will understand. Vivian. Her voice took on that familiar, no arguments tone I'd heard throughout my childhood. Your brother has worked his entire life for this. I won't let my condition derail his success. Promise me you won't make him worry. Exhaustion washed over me, bone deep and soul weary. Some patterns never changed. I'll try to reach him, I promised hollowly. Outside her room, I leaned against the wall, closing my eyes against the sting of tears. A gentle hand on my shoulder startled me. Viv? Daniel stood there, concern etched in the lines of his face, a duffel bag slung over his shoulder. I fell into his embrace, the tears I'd been holding back finally breaking free. You came, I whispered against his shirt. Of course I came. He stroked my hair, a soothing rhythm. How is she? Stable. They think it was a mild heart attack. They're doing more tests tomorrow. I pulled back, wiping my eyes. All she cares about is not ruining Marcus's celebration. Daniel's expression darkened, but he said nothing. I still can't reach him, I continued. I've tried calling, texting, nothing. Let me try, Daniel offered, pulling out his phone. While he stepped away to make the call, I sank into a waiting room chair, exhaustion settling into my bones. The past few hours felt surreal, like I was moving through a dream or a nightmare. Daniel returned, shaking his head. No answer. I left a message. I should go to his apartment, I decided. It's only a few blocks from here. Maybe he's there and just not checking his phone. I'll come with you. Outside, the evening air was unseasonably warm for April, heavy with the promise of rain. We walked in silence, my mind churning with worry, for my mother, for my absent brother, for the familiar dynamics already reasserting themselves despite years and distance. Marcus's apartment building was upscale, far nicer than the cramped graduate housing Daniel and I shared in New York. A swipe of my spare key card granted us access to the lobby with its marble floors and tasteful artwork. Nice place, Daniel commented, eyeing the surroundings. Mom helps him with the rent, I explained, pressing the elevator button for the 6th floor. At Marcus's door, I knocked firmly. No response. I tried the handle. Locked. Marcus? I called, knocking again. It's Vivian. Are you there? Silence. Using my spare key, I unlocked the door, a sense of unease crawling up my spine. The apartment was immaculate, almost sterile in its orderliness. But something felt off. Marcus? I called again, moving through the living room toward the bedroom. The bedroom door stood slightly ajar. I pushed it open. Empty. But the closet door was open, hangers askew. Drawers pulled out, contents disheveled. Daniel, I called, my voice tight with growing alarm. He appeared in the doorway, taking in the scene with a frown. Looks like he left in a hurry, he observed. On the nightstand, Marcus's laptop sat open, the screen dark. I pressed a key, and it illuminated, asking for a password. Damn it, I muttered. Daniel moved to the desk in the corner, rifling through papers. Viv, he said after a moment. You should see this. He held out a stack of papers. Bank statements. As I scanned them, my blood ran cold. Withdrawals. Large ones. Thousands of dollars, drained over the past month. And something else. A letter from Johns Hopkins Medical School. Not an acceptance. A rejection. I don't understand, I whispered, staring at the formal letterhead. Mom said he got a full scholarship. Daniel's expression was grim. He lied to her. And from the looks of these bank statements, he's been siphoning money from somewhere. A terrible suspicion formed in my mind. I pulled out my phone, navigating to my banking app with trembling fingers. My emergency savings account, the one I'd been building since high school, was empty. $20,000. Gone. Marcus had been a joint account holder since I first opened it, an arrangement my mother had insisted upon to teach financial responsibility. I'd never gotten around to removing his access after moving to New York. He took my money, I whispered, the reality of the betrayal washing over me in waves. All of it. Daniel's hand settled on my shoulder, warm and steady. We need to call the police, he said quietly. But before I could respond, my phone buzzed with a text message. Marcus. Sorry, sis. Had to get away for a while. Don't come looking for me. Tell Mom I'm sorry. I stared at the message, fury and disbelief warring within me. He knew, I said, my voice strangely calm despite the storm raging inside. He knew about Mom's heart attack and he just left. Daniel read the message over my shoulder, his expression hardening. He's running, he said flatly. And he took your money to do it. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. Marcus hadn't been accepted to medical school. He'd lied to our mother, perhaps to us all for months. And when the charade became unsustainable, he'd stolen my savings and disappeared. Leaving me to deal with the fallout. Leaving me to take care of our mother. Just as I'd always done. I typed a response, fingers moving on autopilot. Where are you? Mom needs you. The reply came almost immediately. Can't come back. In too deep. They'll find me. My heart raced. Who will find you? What did you do? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. Finally. Ask Caldwell. He knows. I frowned, showing the message to Daniel. Caldwell? Who's that? Maybe a professor? Daniel suggested. Or a friend. I racked my brain, trying to remember if Marcus had ever mentioned the name. Nothing came to mind. I texted back. Marcus, Mom had a heart attack. She's in the hospital. Please come back. Minutes passed. No response. I tried again. Whatever trouble you're in, we can fix it. Just come home. When this too yielded no response, I fought the urge to throw my phone across the room. Let's get back to the hospital, Daniel said gently. We can figure this out tomorrow. But as we left Marcus's apartment, the weight of my brother's betrayal settling like lead in my stomach, I knew that figuring this out would fall to me. Just as it always had. My mother was sleeping when we returned to the hospital, her face peaceful in a way it rarely was when awake. I sank into the chair beside her bed, exhaustion claiming me at last. Get some rest, Daniel murmured, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I'll be right here. Sleep claimed me in fitful bursts, punctuated by dreams of running down endless corridors, searching for someone who remained just out of reach. Morning brought Dr. Chen and his team, the angiogram revealing a blockage that would require a stent. As they wheeled my mother away for the procedure, she gripped my hand. Where's Marcus? She asked, her voice small with fear. I couldn't bring myself to tell her the truth. Not now, when her heart was literally in jeopardy. He's on his way, I lied. He sends his love. The relief in her eyes twisted like a knife in my chest. While my mother was in surgery, I set about trying to unravel the mystery of Marcus's disappearance. Caldwell, I muttered, scrolling through my brother's social media contacts. Who the hell is Caldwell? Daniel, who had stepped out to bring us coffee, returned with not just beverages but an idea. What about his university? Someone there might know who Caldwell is. It was a start. The administrative office at Philadelphia State was understandably reluctant to provide information about a student to someone claiming to be his sister. But when I mentioned a family medical emergency and the urgent need to contact Marcus, the administrative assistant's resolve wavered. I can't give you personal information about other students, she said, sympathy softening her voice. But I can tell you that Professor Caldwell is the head of the chemistry department. His office hours are posted on the department website. Professor Caldwell. Not a fellow student, but a teacher. A quick online search revealed that Dr. James Caldwell held office hours that very afternoon. Without a better lead, I decided to go to the university while my mother recovered from her procedure. You sure you don't want me to come with you? Daniel asked as we stood outside the hospital. I shook my head. Stay with Mom. If she wakes up and neither of us is there, she'll panic. Call me if you find out anything, he insisted, pulling me into a quick embrace. The university campus was bustling with spring semester activity, students lounging on the green, hurrying between classes, completely oblivious to the crisis unfolding in my life. The chemistry building was a modern structure of glass and steel on the north side of campus. Inside, the corridor echoed with my footsteps as I searched for Professor Caldwell's office. Room 237. A placard beside the door read Dr. James Caldwell, Department Chair. I knocked tentatively. Come in, called a deep voice. Inside, a man in his early 60s looked up from behind a cluttered desk. His silver hair and beard gave him a distinguished appearance, though his eyes held a weariness that suggested he'd seen too much of the world. Can I help you? He asked. My name is Vivian Morales, I began, closing the door behind me. I'm Marcus Morales's sister. The change in Professor Caldwell's demeanor was immediate and alarming. His face paled, eyes darting to the door as if checking for escape routes. I don't know where your brother is, he said quickly. And if I did, I wouldn't tell you. My mother is in the hospital, I pressed. Marcus has disappeared, and his last message told me to ask you. Please, I need to know what's going on. Caldwell removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. You should leave, he said quietly. For your own safety. A chill ran down my spine. What do you mean, for my safety? What kind of trouble is Marcus in? The professor studied me for a long moment, as if weighing his options. Sit down, Ms. Morales, he finally said, gesturing to the chair across from his desk. I complied, heart hammering in my chest. Your brother worked as my research assistant for the past 2 years, Caldwell began, his voice low. He was brilliant, dedicated, and apparently desperate. Desperate for what? Money, I suppose. Recognition. I'm not sure what drove him to it, but 3 months ago, I discovered discrepancies in our lab inventory. Chemicals missing. Equipment used during off hours. My mouth went dry. What kind of chemicals? Caldwell's eyes met mine, grim and direct. The kind that can be used to synthesize certain controlled substances. The implication hit me like a physical blow. You're saying my brother was cooking drugs in your lab? Not just any drugs. A new designer compound. Highly potent, highly addictive, and extremely valuable on the street. Caldwell leaned forward. When I confronted him, he denied everything. I wanted to believe him, but the evidence was damning. I gave him an ultimatum: come clean to me and accept university discipline, or I'd go to the police. What did he choose? He promised to think about it. The next day, my lab was broken into. All the evidence, the logs, the security footage, was gone. And so was Marcus. I sat back, trying to process this revelation. My brother, the golden child, the future doctor, had been operating a drug lab under the nose of his mentor. That was 3 weeks ago, Caldwell continued. I haven't seen or heard from him since. But others have been looking. Others? I echoed. Your brother wasn't working alone, Ms. Morales. He had partners. Dangerous people who fronted the money for his operation. And now, they want their investment back. The room seemed to tilt around me. Are you saying my brother is on the run from drug dealers? Caldwell nodded grimly. And if they can't find him, they might look for leverage. Family members, for instance. The implication sent ice through my veins. My mother is safer in the hospital than anywhere else right now, Caldwell finished. At least until this blows over. How does it blow over? I demanded, anger rising through my shock. My brother stole my savings. He left our mother alone during a medical crisis. He's involved with drug dealers. How exactly does any of this just go away? Caldwell spread his hands in a helpless gesture. I don't have those answers. All I know is that Marcus is in way over his head, and anyone connected to him could be in danger. I stood, my mind racing with implications. I need to get back to the hospital. Ms. Morales, Caldwell called as I reached the door. Be careful. These people, they don't play by the rules the rest of us follow. The warning followed me like a shadow as I hurried across campus, my phone already in hand to call Daniel. He answered on the first ring. Viv? Did you find out anything? Is my mother awake? I asked, not wanting to explain the situation where she might overhear. Not yet. They said the procedure went well, but she'll be sedated for another hour or so. Stay with her, I instructed, quickening my pace. Don't leave her alone, okay? I'm on my way back. Vivian, what's going on? You're scaring me. I ducked into a campus coffee shop, finding a secluded corner before lowering my voice. Marcus was making drugs in a university lab. Now he's on the run from his suppliers, and they might come looking for him through us. Daniel's sharp intake of breath was audible. Jesus Christ, Viv. We need to call the police. And tell them what? That my brother, who's already disappeared, might be in trouble with drug dealers. That I'm worried these same dealers might come after my sick mother? They'll think I'm paranoid or making it up. Then we need to get your mother moved to a different hospital. Somewhere safer. She just had a stent put in. We can't just check her out against medical advice. Then I'll stay with her. 24/7. You go back to New York, get somewhere safe. I'm not leaving her, Daniel. The finality in my voice brooked no argument. She's my mother. Despite everything, she's my mother. The silence that followed was heavy with understanding. I'm on my way back, I said, rising from my seat. We'll figure this out together. I ended the call, stepping back into the spring sunshine that seemed at odds with the darkness that had descended upon my life. As I walked toward the bus stop that would take me back to the hospital, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Where's your brother? I stopped in my tracks, staring at the message. After a moment's hesitation, I replied. Who is this? The response came immediately. Someone who wants what's owed. Tell Marcus he has 48 hours. My hands trembled as I typed. I don't know where he is. A photo appeared on my screen. A hospital entrance. Mercy Hospital, where my mother lay recovering. We know where to find you. The threat was unmistakable. I changed direction, breaking into a run toward the nearest taxi stand. I had to get back to the hospital. Now. The taxi crawled through mid-afternoon traffic, each red light an eternity of anxiety. I tried calling Daniel again, but the call went straight to voicemail, probably due to hospital restrictions on cell phone use in certain areas. When we finally pulled up at Mercy Hospital's entrance, I thrust cash at the driver and ran inside, bypassing the elevator in favor of the stairs. By the time I reached the 4th floor, my lungs burned with exertion, but adrenaline propelled me forward. My mother's room was at the end of the corridor. As I approached, an orderly emerged, pushing a meal cart. Excuse me, I gasped, has anyone unusual been to room 418? Anyone asking questions about Mrs. Morales? The orderly frowned. Not that I saw. Just regular visitors, her son went in a little while ago. My blood froze. Her son? Dark hair, about 6 feet tall? That's him. Got there maybe 20 minutes ago. Marcus. Here. I sprinted the last few yards to my mother's room, bursting through the door expecting to find my brother. Instead, Daniel sat beside the bed, my mother still asleep, and dripping steadily into her arm. Viv? Daniel stood, alarmed by my breathless entrance. What's wrong? The orderly, he said Marcus was here. Daniel's brow furrowed. No one's been here but me and the nurses. But he said. A nurse appeared in the doorway, clipboard in hand. Is everything all right? Mrs. Morales needs rest. I approached her quickly. Has anyone else been to see my mother? A young man, maybe claiming to be her son? The nurse checked her chart. No visitors except for you and your husband here. And Dr. Chen, of course. I turned to the orderly, who still stood in the hallway. You said her son was here. He gestured to Daniel. Yeah, him. Been here for hours. Relief washed over me, followed quickly by embarrassment. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. I thought you meant someone else. After the orderly and nurse departed, I showed Daniel the threatening texts. We need to go to the police, he insisted. This is serious, Viv. And say what? That my drug-dealing brother is missing and now I'm getting cryptic texts? That the orderly mistook you for him and I panicked? I shook my head. They'll think I'm paranoid or attention-seeking. Then what's your plan? Wait for these people to show up and demand answers we don't have? Before I could respond, my mother stirred, her eyelids fluttering open. Vivian, she mumbled, voice thick with medication. Where's Marcus? I moved to her bedside, taking her hand. He's not here, Mom. But I am. Her brow furrowed with confusion. But he was just here. I heard his voice. My heart raced. When, Mom? When did you hear him? She blinked, struggling against the sedation. He was arguing with someone. Daniel and I exchanged alarmed glances. Mom, there was no one here but Daniel. You must have been dreaming. She shook her head stubbornly. No. Marcus was here. He said he was sorry, that he never meant for this to happen. A chill crawled up my spine. Mom, look at me. Was Marcus really here, or did you dream it? Her eyes drifted closed again, medication pulling her back toward sleep. So sorry. She murmured. My boy, so sorry. And then she was asleep once more, leaving Daniel and me in stunned silence. She was hallucinating, Daniel suggested quietly. The medication. Or he was really here, I countered. Maybe he came while you were in the bathroom or getting coffee. Daniel shook his head. I've been here the whole time, Viv. I didn't leave once. I sank into the chair opposite him, the weight of this new uncertainty pressing down on me. What do we do? Daniel reached across my mother's sleeping form to take my hand. We stay vigilant. We keep her safe. And we try to find your brother before these people do. But how to find someone who didn't want to be found? Someone who had betrayed us, stolen from me, and left us to deal with the consequences of his actions? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswerable and maddening. We settled into an uneasy routine, taking shifts by my mother's bedside. She drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes lucid, other times confused and asking for Marcus. Each time, I assured her he would come soon, the lie bitter on my tongue. That night, as Daniel slept in the uncomfortable hospital chair and my mother rested peacefully, I used her hospital room's landline to call my brother's cell phone again. To my surprise, it rang instead of going straight to voicemail. After 4 rings, a click. Hello? I whispered, not wanting to wake the others. Silence. Then, so soft I almost missed it. Viv? Relief and anger flooded me in equal measure. Marcus, where are you? What's going on? I can't talk long, he murmured, his voice tight with fear. I messed up, Viv. Really bad. I know, I hissed. Professor Caldwell told me everything. How could you, Marcus? Drugs? Stealing my money? And now Mom. How is she? He interrupted, genuine concern in his voice. She had a heart attack, Marcus. They put in a stent. She keeps asking for you, and I keep lying to her, telling her you're on your way. My voice broke. Why did you leave? Why didn't you just come to the hospital? I couldn't, he whispered. They followed me there. I saw them in the parking lot. If I'd stayed, they might have found her. Found you. Who, Marcus? Who's after you? The Salazar brothers. I took their money, promised them profits. But the formula wasn't stable. The product, people got hurt, Viv. And now they want blood. I closed my eyes, trying to process this new information. Where are you now? Are you safe? A bitter laugh. Safe? No. But I'm moving. State to state. Trying to stay ahead of them. Marcus, you need to go to the police. Whatever you've done. People died, Viv. 3 college kids in Pittsburgh. They took the drug, and their hearts just stopped. I could be facing manslaughter charges. Or worse. The world seemed to tilt beneath me. Oh, Marcus. I never meant for any of this to happen, he continued, his voice breaking. I just wanted. I needed. What? What did you need so badly that you'd risk everything? That you'd steal from me? Silence stretched between us. I wanted to make Mom proud, he finally whispered. I didn't get into medical school, Viv. Any of them. I tried for 2 years. And each time, I couldn't bear to tell her I'd failed. So I lied. First about interviews, then about acceptances. And then I needed money to keep up the pretense. To move for school. The revelation struck me like a physical blow. All this time, my mother's golden child had been living a lie. A lie that had spiraled into theft, drug manufacturing, and now manslaughter. You need to come home, I said firmly. We'll face this together. I'll help you find a lawyer, turn yourself in. I can't, he cut me off. They'll kill me, Viv. Or worse, they'll hurt you and Mom to get to me. I just called to warn you. They know about the hospital. They might come looking. You need to get Mom transferred somewhere else, under a different name. Marcus. I have to go. I'm sorry, Viv. For everything. Take care of Mom. The line went dead, leaving me alone with the weight of his confession. I stood frozen, the hospital phone clutched in my trembling hand. In the dimly lit room, my mother's monitors beeped steadily, each sound a reminder of how fragile life could be. Daniel stirred in the chair, blinking awake. Viv? What's wrong? Before I could answer, a nurse appeared in the doorway. Mrs. Morales is being moved to a private room on the 6th floor, she announced. Doctor's orders. But I hadn't spoken to any doctors about moving her. As the nurse approached the bed, I noticed something off about her demeanor, too rigid, eyes darting toward the doorway. I'd like to speak with Dr. Chin first, I said firmly, positioning myself between her and my mother. The nurse's hand slid toward her pocket. That won't be necessary. Daniel was on his feet instantly, hitting the call button repeatedly. Security to room 418, he said loudly, maintaining eye contact with the woman. She backed toward the door, but collided with a hospital security guard responding to the call. Everything happened quickly after that. The woman was detained, police were called, and my mother, still mercifully asleep, was placed under police protection. The nurse was working for the Salazar brothers. 2 days later, as my mother prepared for discharge, I received one final text from Marcus. Found a way out. Turning myself in. Tell Mom I love her. When I finally told my mother the truth, all of it, she wept. Not for Marcus's crimes or her shattered illusions, but for the pressure she'd placed on him. For the first time, she looked at me, really looked at me, with something new in her eyes. Recognition. Respect. You saved my life, she whispered, gripping my hand. While he ran away, you stayed. You've always stayed. 6 months later, as we sat in a different courtroom watching Marcus accept a plea deal, my mother leaned over and whispered, I've been blind, Vivian. So blind. But I see now. I see you. It wasn't the validation I'd spent a lifetime seeking. It was something better, the truth, finally acknowledged. Some wounds never fully heal. Some patterns take generations to break. But as we walked out of that courthouse into the bright autumn sunshine, I knew something had fundamentally shifted between us. Not because I'd finally measured up to my brother in her eyes, but because I'd finally stopped measuring myself through hers.